Do you feel like you're squatting too much with your body position on your bike? Do you feel like you're hip hinging? Do you feel like you're actually just riding with the bike and not having the bike move underneath of you while you're going down the trail? Today, we're going to be talking about some body position pitfalls and things that you may be doing wrong and how to change that. So, one of the biggest things about your body position on your bike is kind of what actually is where you want to be. Okay, what should you look like? So, whenever you are on your bike, there is a tall ready position and then there is a low ready position. And there's where most of us live most of the ride, which is in between those two. Most of us don't ride in this tall, arms almost straight, legs almost straight position, and most of us don't go super down close to our bike all the time. We're usually somewhere in between called the gray area, right? Now, in this gray area, you're going to have some movement of your arms back and forth. Your elbows are going to be more pointed out. Your knees are going to be soft and they're going to have the ability to bend and straighten. The big key within this is you are in more of a hip hinge position and not in a squatted position. When you are squatting, that means that your chest is more upright. You have more knee bend than, or equal knee bend as hip bend. And it also makes you a little bit more unstable when it comes to forward and back movements. Now, when it comes to hip hinging, this means that your chest goes down towards your bars a little bit, means that your butt shifts back a little bit. Now, this isn't that you're going to be hanging off the backside of your bike and like, there you are. But it does mean that to balance over your feet, if your chest comes forward, your butt shifts back because you need to balance over top of your feet. You will also have a slight knee bend in this. And so when you're doing the hip hinge, that means you need to have a lot more core. When it comes to major pitfalls of biking and your body position, most of it comes down to your ability to use your glutes and your hips and to use your core. If you don't have these two abilities, then most of the time you end up squatting because it requires less core and you rely more on your thighs, your quad muscles, which most of us tend to do anyways. And so getting and understanding this hip hinge will help you tremendously with actually knowing what to do on the bike. To do the hip hinge, one of the things that you can think about off the bike, because why don't we make this less dynamic and know what we actually are talking about off the bike before we go on the bike, is you will just bend over and you'll put your hands on your thighs. This gives you that ability to bring your chest down, stick your butt out, but also have a little bit of support in this. It's a great way of understanding how to hip hinge without actually knowing how to hip hinge. It's a fantastic thing. So try it. Get your butts up, move around, and bend over. Put your hands on your thighs. Try to keep your back a little bit more straight and stick your butt out. Now, take your hands off of your thighs and see how it feels. Put your arms out as it would be on the bars. Can you sustain that position? Can you now stagger your feet? Do you feel what it would be like standing out of the saddle on your bike in this position? Does it hurt? Does it feel comfortable? Are you able to sustain this? If you're not, then it's a sign I need to strengthen. I need to get stronger so I can hold this position for longer periods of time and I can descend so much better. So now I want you to take that same position that you were just in, and I want you to bring your chest a little bit more upright. I want you to bend your knees more. This is when we get actually into the squat pattern. That majority of people who struggle with body position, they tend to squat instead of hip hinge. And this squatting position, if I was going to shove somebody, I would want to be in a hip hinge because now I have more front and back stability versus a squat. I don't have very much front and back stability. I'm more vertical in nature. And that's going to make you feel so much more unsteady, so much more where you don't want to bring your body more into a central position on the bike like we need it to be. You're going to be hanging more off the backside of the bike. You're going to feel that tug and the bike actually dragging you different places. This is where the squat will almost make you want to draw your knees inward. It will make you want to hold onto your bike when in actual reality, we need the bike to float freely underneath of us. We need it to go onto the different terrains, go side to side, forward and backwards a little bit, and we need it to do it without actually disturbing us that are riders on top of the bike. Now, when it comes to climbing, same type of position, you'll be a little bit more rounded. And so now in that same position, you'll put your hands back on your thighs. You will stick your butt out, obviously, keep your back nice and straight. And now I want you to round your back just a little bit. Kind of think about if you were a sad dog and you're tucking your tail. You're going to tuck your pelvis underneath of you. And now that gives you even more ability to use your glutes and your hamstrings as well as your quads. This body position for climbing is where you're able to actually dig in and use more of your muscles in your legs and your body to support you. And so you don't feel like you need to pull on your bars. You can let your arms be nice and free, and it gives you that power. There's been several studies that show if you do a slight posterior pelvic tilt, that's where you're that sad dog, you tilt that just a little slightly, then you will actually activate your glutes so much better. And they've showed this in like the hip thrust, where you have a weight across your hips and you're thrusting upwards. And they've also shown this in the Bulgarian split squat, which is where you're kind of staggered, one foot is on a back support, and you're driving up and forward in that. If you do just a slight little bit of tail tuck, a little bit of posterior pelvic tilt, then you'll actually activate your glutes and your hamstrings so much better, along with the actual hip hinge. I hope this was super helpful for you. I hope it gained you some insight of what you can do and how you can modify your body position and actually what a hip hinge is in this. Bye, y'all.